Hello everybody and welcome back to Creating Hanley. I am Kimberly, your host here at Creating Hanley, and in today's video we are making this block times 4. So this comes out to a 6-inch unfinished block. You make 4 of these tiles. I'm going to call these tiles. You make 4 of these tiles or units and it creates a 6-inch, a 12 and a half inch block, unfinished block, raw edge block. Okay, so let's dive into this. Now it's June. It's early June, and I figured the swimming pools are opening. People are going on vacations. The amusement parks are opening. So I found this undersea fish kind of fabric at the big box store. And where's my little scrap piece? I tossed it over there somewhere. Anyway, it's a remnant. It was short. It was small. It was like a buck. So I found this remnant, just lucky I did. And then I had these other remnants. I had these other fabrics. And I just thought this is going to be another scrappy piece. So I just pick up remnants when I can and where I can, and just have like fat quarters around or jelly rolls or just like remnants from the store, scrap pieces that people give me, and I hang on to those because you never know when you're gonna need them to make a block or something. Anyway, again, I'm using this book 1000 Blocks from the Quilt Makers. And every block in here, every creation in here is from a different author, a different creator. And so I'm using this one today, Chunky Monkey. And so if you have this book, it is on page 320. And if you have the CD, it is block number 625. Now, I have not yet looked at the CD, but we're going to follow along these directions. Now, one thing that I noticed, if you're making a scrap piece, you're going to be cutting a lot of different small pieces. But if you're going to do what I did and just have every block be the same, so the center here is going to be different, but every block surrounding it is going to be the same. And this is kind of like a picture frame. I wouldn't say it's a square and a square, but it's like a picture frame, kind of or maybe close to maybe a shoe fly. So anyway, this is called Chunky Monkey, and it's a bunch of scraps. So I don't even know what to tell you. I'll just put this up on, and you can read this, okay? So you need all these different types of fabrics, and here's the directions. And this is what it looks like. So if you need to pause the video, go ahead and pause the video to write all this down. This is what it looks like when you're sewing it together. And then this is what it looks like when all 4 units or tiles are made. And then this is the finished unfinished block as a unit, okay? So we're not doing this one. We're not doing this one. Chunky Monkey. And again, this is the cutting. Hopefully that makes sense to you. If you need to pause the video, go ahead, pause the video or replay the video because it's a lot for me to say. So I'd rather just tell you what I did. Now, like I said, if you're making the scrappy version, you can cut out all these little teeny tiny rectangles and these little squares. If you're not, if you want to make your block similar on all 4 tiles, then what you can do here, so here's what I did. See all these tiny little rectangles, these tiny little strips? You can make one long strip. So like maybe with the fabric, make them, I believe they're 1.25 inches. They're 1.25 inches tall by 3 inches long. So if you do 1.25 inches by width of fabric, and then the next color 1.25 inches by width of fabric, put those 2 right sides together, sew the entire 1/4 inch seam allowance, width of fabric, and then you cut 3-inch intervals so that you have these two sewn together. That makes sense, right? You take your two colors, if you're not doing it scrappy, okay? That's only if you're not doing it scrappy. If you're doing it scrappy, then you need to cut all these little teeny tiny pieces. But if you want your tiles uniform, just have this center highlighted differently, then take your two fabrics, sew them together, right sides together, 1/4 inch seam allowance, open those up, and then you cut every 3-inch interval. And you're going to need 16 of these units, okay? All right, now, these little squares, here we go. These little squares, these make these half square triangles right here. So what you do, I'm going to take you down to the surface right here. So let's get these out of the way. These can be a template. So you put your right sides together, whatever background and highlighted fabric you're going to use, background and highlighted fabric. You're going to put those right sides together, and then you're drawing a line from corner to corner on that diagonal, okay? Once you draw that line, you sew, and I have one done right here. You sew 1/4 inch on each side of that line. So on each side of that line. And then once you do that, you can cut along that drawn line, which now creates your half square triangle. Iron that open, trim off these little tags, okay, so that it looks like this, okay? Now you should have 4 of these per block. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 per block. So you do that twice. Okay? Do that twice, and then you have 4, your 4 per block. So now you have 4 of these. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 4 of these. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now it's becoming a little bit easier. Now this becomes a 9 patch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. See how that goes together? So now you have 4 of these, 4 of these. Now all you need, so that's 8 units right there. And then all you need is your center piece right here, your little highlighted piece. And then so you take your next 3.5, or this is a 3-inch block. You take your next 3-inch block, and then you lay these out accordingly. So I have these done already here. And then you just line those up the way they should be. Put your... So what I should say is, if you're using the same color, your background's going to be on the outside, and your highlighted colors are going to be on the inside. Now, if you're doing something really scrappy, it's probably not going to make that much of a difference. But this is how you put it together, okay? And then what you do is you explode this up a little bit, and then you create your rows. So you sew these two together, you sew these, and then, or these three, and these 3 together. Okay, so all you do, keep it in line, right sides together, so your 1/4 inch seam allowance, and then open that up, 1/4 inch seam allowance, open that up. Now that becomes a unit. Same with here, 1/4 inch seam allowance, open that up, 1/4 inch seam allowance, open that up. Now that's a unit. And then same with this. So these are together, and then once you have these 3 rows, you sew, flip them over, 1/4 inch seam allowance, and you sew these together. And that is how you get this tile. You do that 4 times, and then that's how you get your finished block. Now, you're also going to need sashing for the center. So you cut your sashing, and then I cut this little teeny tiny, oh, that's upside down. You cut this little teeny tiny cornerstone, okay? So bring it back down here. Now pretend I have 4 of these. So what I'm going to do is line up my sashing. So you can see once the block is together, these line up perfectly. 1/4 inch seam allowance, open that up, and then if this was a finished tile, you do the same thing there. 1/4 inch seam allowance. And then for this cornerstone, what I would do is take these 2 sashing pieces on the outside of here, sew these together, of course, you know, the same way, same method. 1/4 inch seam allowance, open that up. 1/4 inch seam allowance, open that up. Okay? And then you have the same thing on the bottom. So now you have 2 on the bottom. So now you have your bottom, attach it to here, and then you have your top and attach it to there. And that is how you get this block, the Chunky Monkey. I hope that makes sense. That's how you get this. So this is 1 block. Okay, guys? I hope that makes sense. I wanted to keep it a little bit short, and I know sometimes I leave out things. So if you have a question, let me know in the comments. Now, keep in mind, I have a Patreon page going now. I hope to see you there, and check out the other videos right here. See you on the next one. Bye for now.